Welcome back to the official Atari Games podcast. This is Jason here, and I'm on my own for now, just for now. As I said, we said we were going to do this last week, but instead we had to push it back. I should say last time. And we are talking about Days of Doom. Now, before I bring in a whole suite of characters from SneakyBox who are on standby right now, I thought I'd hit you with some news that's been happening at Atari. So last week was Gamescom, and we had a whole bunch of stuff to say. So with that, this is some of the news. And I actually wrote something out, so some of them were prepared. If you have any feedback about that, be sure to let me know in some comments. First of all, Atari 2600 Plus was announced and available for pre-order on Atari.com and Amazon. Atari 2600 Plus is a modern release of the classic console of nearly the same name and capable of playing nearly the entire 2600 and 7800 library of consoles. This includes a 2600 version of Mr. Run and Jump that is still available for pre-order now. So check that out. By the way, I wrote this myself. This is not actual canned marketing copy. So if it does sound like a reading I'm off a page, I am. Next up, Night Dive has announced Turok 3 and Star Wars Dark Forces Remastered. First up is Turok, originally released in 2000. Turok 3 was the last Turok game released on the N64, and you'd be forgiven if you don't remember its release, as it came 1 month before the PS2's North American release. The remaster will be coming out in November, and you can wishlist on Steam now. Star Wars Dark Forces Remastered is a now formerly PC exclusive first-person shooter released in 1995. If you're not familiar with it or its 1997 and 98 sequels, you probably are familiar with the latter entries in the series, the later entry in the series, 2002's Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast, and 2003's Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy. Stay tuned for more details to come. Lastly, PAX West specifically. The whole Atari Games team will be at PAX West, so come by, play some games, including 3 unreleased games, including Lunar Lander Beyond, Haunted House, and, topically, Days of Doom. With that, I don't want to hold up the guests, so I will play the trailer for Days of Doom, and on the other side, we'll be joined by some members of the team responsible for the title.
The apocalypse wasn't the end of the world, just the one we knew. New dangers have emerged and lurk around every corner. Only the extraordinary have survived this wasteland. We will do anything to find sanctuary. Lay down your honor, lay down your spirit, lay down your line against the truth. Nowhere to run and hide. No, you can't hide.
Oh, hello, my friend.
Hello.
Well, also, I've seen that a lot. But anyway, welcome. I'm joined by a whole lot of people from the team responsible for Days of Doom. I'm just going to go. I guess this is formatted how it is on video. It's not like a Zoom call where you never know who's where according to the various tiles on screen. So I'm just going to go to my visual right, I guess. Rytis.
Hello.
On Days of Doom. We can go around and make introductions later. And we got Ieva, who's lead artist on Days of Doom.
Hello.
Producer on Days of Doom. And Gytis, who's the game designer.
Hello.
Now, how do I do this? First of all, we're going to jump in and play some games, play a little bit of it, and talk about it while over it. But first, I want to do a warm-up question. I like to do a warm-up question usually before this part, but because I was alone, because it's very early and I didn't want to ask anybody else to get up at 8 a.m. Eastern or 7 a.m. or, God forbid, 5 a.m. Pacific time, that this is where we are. So here's the question. I need one zombie game suggestion that is not Days of Doom. And you know what? Let's expand that. It could be any form of zombie media. It could be a game. It can be a movie. It can be a comic book. It could be just a book. So one thing, not Days of Doom. Rytis, what do you got?
There is an anime currently running called Zom 100.
Oh.
You can check that out, I guess.
What is it? You got to tell us a little bit about it. You can't just say, figure it out, Google it.
It's about a couple of adults having fun in the zombie apocalypse.
Oh.
Because the dude is just happy that he doesn't need to work anymore.
Oh.
I think he worked in game development.
Oh, I was going to say, is this an aspirational one for you? Is this what you want?
And now he's just happy.
All right. Ieva, what do you got?
Oh my, I'll be very generic. I guess The Last of Us, the show.
Okay.
The last thing I saw regarding zombies was this, and it was quite enjoyable.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I don't think there's any more need for explanation than that. Everybody knows The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Gytis, what do you got?
There were like a couple games up in my mind, but I think Plants vs. Zombies, the classic, is what comes to mind first.
Absolutely. Always a good choice.
Always the arcade game. So
the PopCap classic.
of course.
Gytis, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, quite recently I played an indie game called Project Zomboid.
Oh.
And it's kind of, I would say, quite a hardcore survival game. You get plopped into a map and just try to get by any way you can. So, yeah, I don't know if I should really get into like how detailed it is, but no.
All right, fair
you
enough.
should check it out.
Like a DayZ situation, or
quite similar.
Would
many
you say
ways.
that's DayZ? Like it's
in many ways it's similar.
Game?
It's not the same game. It's
no,
in many ways.
Of course not.
Okay.
Anyway, I'll just throw out there, because the funny thing about me is I'm actually, when it comes to zombies, I also can't do much in the way of gore in any sort of medium now, especially now the games become so detailed. Like watching a Mortal Kombat trailer is now a difficult feat for me because of how gross it is. But I will say that probably one of my favorite zombie things has got to be Shaun of the Dead. And I'm sure everybody has seen it. You got to see it. It's a zombie movie. It's a zombie comedy. It's great. The first of the Cornetto trilogy, which I actually had a Cornetto for the first time when I was in Germany, and they are underwhelming. So, that was just my thought. It was a strawberry one. It was late. It was bad. Anyway, so let's talk about Days of Doom, shall we? Let's jump into that. And while we talk about that, I'm going to quickly start streaming it, and we can talk about it. Days of Doom has quite a bit of history, actually, before this version of the game, but I don't know how much we're really going to go into that. Let's just keep this conversation, for all intents and purposes, focused on Days of Doom as it currently exists, just to be clear. If you want to reference any of the previous stuff, that's fine. But for the most part, we'll keep this. Nope, don't do that. Sorry.
I'm sure we'll talk about the mobile version a bit as well.
a little bit. So yeah, the Dark Ages. So fun fact about this group here, with the exception of Gytis, we've actually been working together for, oh my God, probably like over 4 years now, I think. And that was based on a prior iteration of Days of Doom that was actually a mobile game. And that has been, and then once Atari completely pivoted to making premium games again, in my opinion, for the better, because I really like the games we're working on now, got an opportunity to make a premium version of Days of Doom. And what we are about to release soon, can't say the release date, I guess, even though you could really look and figure it out. But we'll announce something more formally next, very soon. I'm already going to say more. I'm bad at this. So, so what we did was we made this game, and by we, I mean the team that you see here. So I don't know, maybe Gytis, you're in a good. This is a good question for you. What was the decision or drive to make Days of Doom in its current form as a tactical roguelite RPG, and maybe give a brief overview of what your approach was in designing this?
Well, damn, I guess initially we just knew we didn't want to really do the exact same game. I have to mention the mobile game, which like the IP was born in, but really, since the first iteration was just a mobile squad RPG, keeping it turn-based sort of made sense. And really, like I knew we liked games like XCOM and other type of games like Into the Breach or whatnot, and that just sort of came together in a really fun way. Like initially, we did have actually 3 different ideas for 3 completely different games. And we just everyone just sort of gravitated towards the turn-based game.
Yeah, cool. And then also so I'm streaming the game now. If you're watching the video, you can check it out. Note that there will be some lag due to just how things go sometimes. And
Also,
go ahead.
maybe to just add to that, I think Ieva will confirm this. Whenever we were thinking about how we should approach Days of Doom or whatever game it would be, at that time maybe it was not specifically this style of game, we thought what are our strongest parts or our strongest skills, and I think 2D art was also a part of why we decided to approach it this way.
Yeah, very cool. Speaking of the art style, Ieva, what was the inspiration behind making this kind of style? It's a little bit different than the original. I know we had an initial conversation around it, but maybe you can enlighten us.
We definitely didn't start from nothing. Like I remember when we were first approached with this project, there were already some character art done, and at the very first iteration of the game, we kind of decided that it will be the base for the art style, and we will build upon it. And the original illustrations for the characters were sort of this inspired by, I would say, like 90s comic books. And we worked with that for a bit, and when the time came for doing the premium version, we still kept sort of like these core pillars of the aesthetic, but we did change some things. Well,
yeah, very cool. Yeah, I mean, if you're watching and seeing the style now, I'll bet with a little bit of lag because of the stream, you can see me doing a very poor job of playing as I'm also listening to the conversation and playing at the same time, which is a very interesting challenge. But yeah, it's very cool the way all the characters are animated, and because and they do take this more. Originally, when you had these proposals for the art, there was like 3 ranges. It was just like, this is the realistic one, this is the chibi one, and then this is in between, which is basically where we ended up. And it's funny because people are like, oh, some people say, yeah, it's chibi-like. I'm like, is it actually, how would you describe it? Would you describe it as that, or would you describe it as
chibi
something
was the
else?
word I used initially, but I think it's heavily stylized, and it's definitely not realistic as the original illustrations were.
Yeah.
But chibi doesn't quite like 100% represents it. Like it's heavily stylized, yeah. And
yeah, absolutely, cool. And it does. I mean, the game looks great in motion. I mean, it looks great in screenshots as well. Although, like the completely animated character art, that was a big difference from what was there before. So everything that was created in the game had to be basically made from scratch to be able to accommodate that animation style. And it also helps because you see so much on screen. And I think one of the other ideas was that it was because it was small, because the characters are pretty small on screen, these more exaggerated proportions show off that animation a little more clearly.
Yeah, exactly. Going this way was were one of the motivations while making these characters a lot more stylized, because we wanted the movement to be very clear, and we knew you'll have a lot on screen, and the characters will be small, so it felt like the logical thing to do.
Yeah, this is like doing some weird stuff with the mouse. So I'm actually now going to play with the mouse, which I never do. Never play this game with the mouse. Always play with controller, which is weird because
Always
you would
play
think,
with the mouse.
always play with the mouse. No, that's impossible for a lot of consoles. It's on everything. So you got to, please, you
I
can't always
understand.
play with the mouse.
It's just personal habits, I guess.
Yeah, totally. Well, that's the thing, right? Is you guys being in Lithuania, like console gaming is not really a thing out there, right? Like it's mostly
It is.
PC.
Not nearly to the same degree as in the West, probably, but yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
say
Got
that.
it.
I mean, I would say it's getting a bit more popular lately because of all these exclusive titles, and
Definitely.
like Spider-Man and other anticipated titles were being wanted to play, so everyone was buying consoles. But overall, yeah, PC gaming is still quite alive and doing well.
And that's also decreasing, right? There's a lot of games come to PC eventually. Even PlayStation's kind of caved on that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I want to get Rytis in the conversation. This is the other big thing about the game is that it's a roguelite, right? Like we have the tactical stuff, we have the art, all that stuff, and as a roguelite, I think, what are the from a programming or engineering perspective, like what are the largest hurdles that have to be overcome when creating something that is supposed to be endlessly replayable, but also keeps things kind of fresh and it lives on that loop? Like, was there any specific engineering challenges that came up along the way?
I mean, regarding like keeping things fresh, I think it was more like from the design side of it.
Yeah, I realized that as I was saying it. That's why.
Yeah.
The question started good and then it got a little weird. I'll admit that.
From the engineering part, I guess like the main thing is just to make sure like everything is valid, every map you generate is like all good and there's no like unreachable stuff and all that things.
Yeah.
So there's just like some safety that needs to be done.
Was there any? Did you ever run into any issues or fun bugs or glitches that are worth talking about? Maybe one.
I mean, we had some things where you could have like a node at the start of the map connected to the final node of the map, just going a line through the entire map.
Oh, you should have kept that in. That's on. I mean, look, if it's a random map every time, why wouldn't there be the chance that there was just one straight road with no zombies in it? I think when I was out there last year and I said, all right, I want to watch Gytis, I want to watch him play the game and tell me, show me like a good run and how it's supposed to be played. And it was not intentional, but he literally just went from node to node to node without any combat and then just walked right to the final battle. He's like, that's not supposed to happen. I'm like, yeah, all right. Vytautas, from a production standpoint, as herding cats in this process, as it were, I guess me included in the cats sometimes. What would you say one of the largest challenges was in the course of the production of the game?
Well, given that we're working on a roguelike and all of us have like different games, have different ideas of how it should actually work, I guess the biggest challenge at the start of the project was bringing everyone together and actually figuring out that we're working on the same actual idea and not adding our own things instead of following what Gytis wants to do. So I think that was one of the bigger challenges at the start. I think that I would say that's that. Yeah.
Oh man, well you can't go past that without putting it on Gytis, which is what is the thing that you got that Vytautas Caesared and thumbs down?
Oh God!
What is give us the top one early on. Yeah.
Don't put me on the spot like that. Okay, well, what were the great things that we cut?
The great things. Oh my God!
Yeah,
there's always a lot of things. I think there's always more stuff that could. I mean, there's infinitely number of things that could always be.
Yeah, of course.
Product versus what's inevitably in it.
There's definitely systems we cut that I can't even recall from the top of my mind, but like initially, we definitely did envision the game as bigger in scope. So like,
classic.
Yeah, currently the game has 2 whole maps you can go through, but we initially thought there's going to be more. We had more characters planned. That was kind of painful. We right now we have 8 playable characters. We used to have 12 in the plans. Even some scribbles about 16, but that was kind of insane. Yeah, so that was painful to cut, to be honest.
But on that point, right? Like when you're doing a game like this, or really any kind of game that works with a random assortment of characters and combinations, you have to make sure that it all works together, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're at any time, it's what is that thing? Like there's that equation where it's like there's this many permutations or possible permutations based on this many things, and you're talking about a ton of different options and balancing all those together, especially since you can even have duplicates of the same characters, right? So that creates another thing. So it's like, you have your 1-1-1-1, or I mean, even just with 3 characters, it's 1-1-1, 1-2-3, 1-2-2, 1-3-3, it's like all of these different things alone that just blows up. And then you have 8, and then you expand the party size up to, you can have up to 6, right? At the end of it, starting with 5. And that's like, that number of combinations to make sure that you don't just show up and steamroll the whole thing. Otherwise, it's just not interesting anymore.
It's honestly, it's likely that there are some specific permutations or combinations of characters, items, and or map layouts, arena layouts, where we just have not seen them, and really something could go wrong still.
That always happens, right?
Yeah.
Well, while we're talking about the characters, I think now's a good time to ask. Like you said, there's 8 playable characters. You start with 4. There's 4 unlockable ones, and I want to go around the horn and ask everybody what's their favorite character, personal favorite, and then say why, and we'll go around there. So let's start with Rytis. What do you got? What's your favorite?
I don't know.
You don't know?
What
do you want to pass?
How
about we do this? Which one was the easiest to program?
That would probably be the gunslinger.
Yeah?
Because he just shoots and moves.
That's true. He's not moving anybody around. He's not. I guess he's got the ignite ability. So there's that.
But I think that came way late.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, if I had to pick a favorite, I guess I'll just go with the pyro, because you can put a lot of flames down and then it's all on fire. That's fun.
Yeah, that speaks to your personality. your fiery personality. That's how we describe Rytis. He's got a fiery personality.
Nice.
Yeah. Ieva.
Oh, that's definitely the gunslinger. It was the first character that I did, and since the very beginning, I just wanted to do this masked, mysterious, vigilante character that nobody knows anything about, and he's just that mystery.
Right on. Vytautas. I'm actually surprised, by the way. I could have sworn you would have said the one that I was going to pick, but go ahead.
I would say it's either a priestess or a gunslinger. Priestess is just because I really love her abilities in combat. I think it's the strongest character in the game at the moment, because of the support abilities she provides. Like, you can block a lot of damage, and then whenever you go to boss encounters, she also allows to block all the damage from boss encounters. So you just send in the tank, apply some shields, and you just go through the campaign. So I think it really helps with experiencing more content easily without maybe finding some more interesting usages for items. So that's why I really like how she works. And I guess my second favorite was also Gunslinger, because of the mysteriousness of the character. And correct me if I'm wrong, we also included gender neutral names for the character.
Yeah.
Because nobody knows if it's she, he, or somebody else.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's very cool. I do. So Gytis, what do you got?
I feel like Gunslinger is the most. The unit that garners the most attention from everyone. I feel like this for me it's a toss-up between either Colossus or Hydromancer. I think Hydromancer overall has my favorite design visually. And then Colossus, I just really enjoyed the leap.
Yes.
I don't know, jumping around the map is just fun for me. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a really satisfying attack, that's for sure. It's crazy. These answers are insane. Every single one of these answers is absolutely crazy. Gytis came close, but the right answer is Hydromancer. It's not even close. Like let's just call it what it is. The Hydromancer character, which is funny that we're talking about this because it's like the one time I've played in like a long time. I didn't even have the choice of choosing her at the moment, but it's okay because I'm going to die on this boss fight, so maybe I'll find her next. But the Hydromancer character is so good because she has the longer range attack. Like longer than the priestess, and her secondary attack being that big splash has like the ability to like bring people inward and crash into each other. And also the design, the art design on the character is so cool and like it kind of cute, and kind of intimidating, which is kind of fun. So you have like this intimidating, unsuspecting character who's got this water cooler on her back, is like kind of throwing all these wet attacks, and also the what is happening? What am I even doing right now? I don't even know. I'm looking at the top screen. So the setup right now that I have, you're watching on screen, you're like, what is he doing? Why did he just do that? I have the chat is up on the top screen and I'm playing the game on the lower screen. And because I'm now using the mouse, I was looking at the top screen instead of the lower screen. Anyway, that's why I was just going kind of wild. The Hydromancer also, like, you can use the secondary attack for the Hydromancer is so cool because it attacks such a wide area, which is awesome. But the thing about it is that you can use it to either bang enemies into each other or pull them toward you, which is cool, to get off 2 attacks. And that's really cool. But the other interesting thing about it is that the combo. So we haven't really talked about anything about the combinations of the attacks. Yeah. So the Gytis, why don't you talk about that? Talk about the attack combinations. Then I'll get into why the Hydromancer is the best character in the game.
Oh yeah, I guess every character not every character. Most characters have like area effect attacks, and because they can even possess certain permutations like fire effects or water effects or whatnot, and you can combo them together. Pretty self-explanatory, I guess. So yeah, for instance, the Hydromancer, you could use a wide area AoE on a group of enemies. You can wet them the floor, and then if you have some character with the shock permutation or whatever, you can then zap him in that same pool of water. So I don't know. Like I guess we could just actually talk about examples with the characters we have on screen right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So okay, well, these characters don't actually really combo that well.
No, they do. What are you talking about? This is actually a great example because it provides a nice tip into how. So I'm not actually this is not what I would do in a real battle. I'm actually just but it's more to prove a point. So you have the ignition, right? Ignition, you really have 2 effective attacks that you could do: ignite and shock. Shock it does the self-explanatory stuff, which will electrocute wet enemies, and it'll also cause a chain reaction to any enemy that's also in a puddle of a wet enemy, which is great. And I'll get to that later while I explain again that the Hydromancer is the best character in the game. So, and I will reiterate this until you understand and agree with me. So the second chain attack is ignition and ignite. And that's the secondary attack by that can be done by the gunslinger, and that you can oil enemies, which will set them on fire and also set oil pits on fire. And more importantly, it can blow up gas.
Yeah,
if set off. So that's how the chain attacks work, and it can lead to some. Oh, go ahead, Gytis.
When I was talking about chain attacks, I mostly was specifically like thinking about just characters interacting between each other. So I wasn't really thinking about poison. Sorry about that.
Oh, all right.
But yeah, you are correct. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah, and one of the fun things about it is that it leads to a lot of kind of what I call happy accidents at times as well.
Yeah.
There was a point where I was in this fighting these 2 guys, and they just had the whole field blasted with gas. And what happened was I was actually able to set one of them on fire, and then they just walked right into a poisonous gas cloud and just blew it up, and then that's how they died, and that's how I won the fight. And there's a combination of that, because there's also happy accidents and there's also very sad accidents, because you might find yourself or sometimes just sad sacrifices you have to make. Because I have often found myself in a situation where it's like, man, I could kill this enemy on this turn, but you, for some reason, were like, I want to torture people and have friendly fire in this game. So as a result, if anybody else is caught in that same chain, then that they're dead. Like, they're not, or they will take a hit.
Friendly fire is one of the best mechanics in all video games.
Oh, really?
You won't change my mind.
Go on.
Well, it adds such a strong layer to actually how you think about playing games whenever there's friendly fire in a game, that I just sort of feel like, okay, I wouldn't say more games need to have it, because there's plenty of games that do now, but I think it's a great mechanic.
Right.
To be honest.
So
we had to have it.
So to finish my case in this court of law on why the Hydromancer is the best character, with what we've explained about the chain attacks, you can find runes all across your run, and the runes are modifiers in the game, and and you can equip them to each character. There is a rune that adds an electrical attack to your standard attack, and when you have that equipped on the Hydromancer, then that means you can create these large puddles and make enemies wet, and then electrocute them immediately and cause insane amounts of damage with the Hydromancer. On top of that, you have other runes that can expand reach of your attacks, so you can expand the reach beyond the already pretty generous range of 3 squares, and have the electrocuted attack, and level up the character to cause more damage. Hydromancer is the best. And she has good range. And she has good range. That's the other good thing. Right. Exactly. So why don't I don't know, someone talk about the runes. Tell me about the runes and the items, usables, that kind of stuff.
About the runes and items, so basically, as you said, and Gytis also explained, our characters have interactions. They're really cool, but we really didn't want to keep them locked behind certain party members. We also wanted players to allow players to explore these different interactions with the help of runes and items. That's why we, as Jason also already mentioned, introduced runes which also allow you your other characters to apply electrocute, apply ignite. So let's say if you have rune and you attack a barrel with this same fighter, you can also blow yourself up because you're standing near the barrel, but you can also blow up barrels with a simple hit from your baseball bat, which is filled in with nails. And there's also a bunch of items which also interact in the same ways. Let's say you have a casket of oil where you throw out all casket. If you don't have, let's say, pyro in your party, you can have somebody else throw out the all casket, and then that same gunslinger can ignite it with his special ability, which Jason has already demonstrated in igniting some gas clouds.
Yep. And now I'm going to show another fun combination, because you can have your because of the ability of the priestess to defend against all attacks, I can now do this. So I've put my fighter in a gas. He set up a gas explosion from a barrel, and then I'm going to blow up that gas cloud while he's in it, so he doesn't take any damage with the gunslinger. Now, this is the kind of advanced strategy that you will only get.
That's exactly why I said that
on this podcast.
That's exactly why I said that Priestess is the best character, because you can do stuff like that with her.
Yes, but you have to be careful, because then you're exposed.
Of course.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah, there's also healing items in the game, so you can use AoE healing items on your party, or single healing items on your party, so it doesn't die before reaching second or third boss. I think, if I remember correctly, there's also passives and runes which help out with making your certain items stronger. Let's say your healing items become stronger because it's used by a support character. So there's a lot of different interactions which players can explore.
Yeah.
And let's say in this case where you have Gunslinger passive, the Gunslinger passive applies AoE buff where your units gain 10% critical hit chance. So right now it says within the 0 tiles because Gunslinger hasn't reached high level yet. But however, whenever you reach higher level, you also unlock that passive to support your surrounding characters. So you can also work with positioning just to do a lot more damage. So yeah.
Yeah. It's always good to know to mind your surroundings, as we've all learned from the Smash movie Batman Begins. Of course. Mind your surroundings. That was the ultimate.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah,
No,
and like
no
we have
spoilers,
this
of course, for Batman Begins.
No, I'm a fan of some days you can't just drop a bomb from Batman 66, I think.
Oh, is that a quote from that movie?
Yeah.
I've never actually seen it from its in its entirety. Yeah, I haven't really seen many movies from the 60s, unless it's on the rotation of Turner Classic Movies, TMC. Turner, is it Turner? TCM, TMC. You get it. It's Turner's. He's got classic movies. I don't know. They get that in Lithuania?
I don't think so.
Fair enough. It's old American cinema. A lot of black and white. It was from the time where movies would start, and then all of a sudden people would break out into song. It's like every movie was probably about 20 minutes in actual content, and then they'd get into a big tap dancing thing for about the rest of the hour runtime. And it's when people would talk like this. You see, yeah. You guys don't. You guys don't have that. I guess not.
No,
not
our
we were
I
in the
guess,
Soviet Union then. We didn't have cameras, I guess. No, honestly though, black and
That
white
is true.
footage was very common throughout the 80s and the 90s, even a bit, well, maybe.
Oh wow, very
Yep.
interesting. And that's actually interesting, though. I think it'd be interesting to know specifically about being in Lithuania. We got a whole group of people here. So what is it? What was it like? What's the gaming scene like in Lithuania? And you could talk about that from both the game playing scene and what I'd also like to know is about like the game development community in Lithuania, because I've actually had the pleasure of going out there and being exposed to a lot of that game development scene that people don't normally think about, especially coming out of Vilnius, but where you guys are in Kaunas. So whoever wants to take it wherever direction you'd like.
I mean, like the past few years, like these days in general, I'd say video games are like communities are like pretty modern thinking about games. Like the things you see in the West are sort of similar here as well. It's just when we go back to like the 2000s or even earlier, a lot of like game pushing here in stores was probably imported games or even like knockoff games. I remember a lot of that being a thing.
There
Can you give an example?
development here, like
Oh god, like a lot of Russian imports of games where they're like much cheaper, probably not quite legal, even translations of some games.
None of it was legal.
Yeah, probably none of it was legal, let's be honest.
Look, I'm not a cop, all right?
Yeah,
I'm not gonna tell.
You would just go to a random shop and all of the CDs were at the same price, no matter what game you're buying.
it
And
was
you would
insane.
like go to a market, like not a shop, but market, like bazaar. I'm not sure how to explain it. And you go to just the market and to some random guy who's selling random games, and then he says like, "Look, there's 300 games on this one, so you can buy it for the same price as you would buy like GTA." You know.
Yeah, but what's amazing after independence, like I feel like it's amazing that we have a game development scene like right now at all, and it's really nice how we caught up in the last 15 years, 20 years. I mean, it's great.
And what's the
Also,
oh, go ahead.
Also, I think it was a bit harder in the past to get like new PC. Usually, at least in my case, how it went, that my first gaming PC, or at least PC, was the one where I think my mom's sister was buying a new computer, so she gave the old one to me, and that was the first PC I had. So I think it was really, really, low specs, so I couldn't really play games on it. So I watched a lot of Let's Plays. That's why I know a lot of games that I haven't played a lot of them. So I think I'm not sure if that's how others feel about it, but at least on my part, that's how it went.
Yeah, my gateway drug to just gaming in general was like I saw my uncles playing some games when I was visiting, like some summers or whatnot. I don't know. And then from that, I didn't have any means to play games, so I just sort of read about them, just buying gaming magazines when I could, and just sort of vicariously experiencing games through reviews or like imagery on magazines and stuff. And yeah, like computers, if someone had a gaming PC at the time, that was definitely a privilege, I think. Like if you had a computer to play games on, it was mostly because your parents had one, or you got lucky somehow. Like Vytautas got someone from a PC from someone.
Yeah.
And game prices were also, even though we got like cheap imports, if you wanted to get something more legit, they were way too expensive for us at the time.
So at what point did that kind of turn or break through, would you say?
I feel like
last 10 years?
Yeah.
No,
10
I
to
feel like
15 years
it
probably.
was up to 15 years. Steam helped a lot. Steam
Yeah.
sort of shifted everything in our favor, I think.
That's very cool.
We didn't really adopt like digital games for a long while as the rest of the world, I think. But I feel like, Steam came out in like 2004 with Half-Life 2 around that time. But I feel like closer to 2010, like maybe 2008, 2009, like Steam had like great deals, and people sort of warm up to the idea of just buying digital games. And I feel like it sort of snowballed.
And as a kid, we also, I guess, had problems with getting credit cards because parents wouldn't bother putting in the codes on the Steam. So we had like these local shops where they were internet shops where they were selling Steam gift codes. So you could send a message from your phone, pay €5, get the Steam cards, redeem it, and then buy a game on Steam.
I haven't tried that, but yeah, I heard about it.
Yeah.
Don't kids do similar things now? I'm not sure, just asking.
I'm not sure.
Like gaming as a kid now is insane. Like how many games for free can you get from Epic?
True.
Like it's like honestly, I mean,
you could get at least like 3 or 4 recharge games.
Yeah, entirely for free.
Well, 2 of them. There was that one time. You
Okay,
and that was only for a week. All right, that's over. It's over.
A week is a long time.
Now you got to pay up. Now you got to pay the $10, and they're worth it. All of them. All of them are worth it.
Like I'm not saying I would like to be a kid again.
Now available on all consoles.
I wouldn't say I would like to be a kid again, but if I was a kid now, I was into games, I would have options.
Oh my God! If you were a kid, if I was a kid and had Game Pass,
that's insane. Yeah, like it's kind of incredible, actually.
It is the amount of choice, I think, between Game Pass and having and also the free to play games. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens to the whole economy of games, and how, because growing up, kids are going to be used to playing Roblox and Fortnite, like games that you jump into, don't have to pay anything, and then all of a sudden you're just kind of paying a little bit here and there and playing forever. But it's interesting to see where it's going to go.
I'll be honest, like controversial opinion maybe, but like as much as I can nag on games like Fortnite, because I'm not personally interested in them quite that much, for like Fortnite is an incredible game to just get lost in if you're like getting into gaming.
Oh, totally. And zero cost of entry.
I don't agree with everything they're doing, but like for the most part, it's insane.
Yeah, you can't knock it. Like it is definitely a great game. Yeah. Like this game is not. This podcast is not for slander. It's for positivity. Sure. And who knows positivity better than Rytis? Rytis, say something positive.
Asking the impossible.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
All right, he's got nothing.
Times are bad. There's no positivity left.
Positivity left.
He's just laughing. He's just
We're all
happy.
gonna die.
Oh my god. These are the days of doom, as it says in the game.
Way to go, sell the game. Nice.
Yeah. What should people know about the game? What should people know about Days of Doom beyond what we've talked about? If you were to tell somebody, "Hey, this is a cool thing about the game," or "This is something you should keep an eye out for," or "Here's like a little fun fact." I want to go down the line and get an answer from everybody. So, Ieva, why don't we start with you?
Oh,
It would have been Rytis, but he failed the last question. So.
okay. I need a moment to think, though.
All right, Vytautas, what do we got?
Thank you.
Sure, I think we haven't really mentioned the town building aspect of the game, where we have really awesome looking art, I guess it's the thing of roguelike games where you buy your constant upgrades and you keep those throughout the runs. But we also added really nice looking art where you upgrade your small settlement, where you start your every single run. So I would say I'm quite happy about how that one looks. And we haven't really mentioned it during this podcast. So yeah, that's a thing to note.
Yeah. That's a good point. Gytis, what do you got?
Another thing we haven't actually mentioned is like we really focus on the combat while talking about it, but the game does have a sort of huge choose your own adventure element through the way you're traveling through the map. Like you encounter combat nodes like this one, as you see Jason playing it right now, but there's also like a lot of text-based choices of like scenarios you get put into with your squad, and you can like get out of them in various ways. Characters that you have influence what you can and cannot do in those scenarios. It's quite a lot of fun.
Yeah. All right, Rytis, you got an answer?
There's music in the game, which I don't think you can hear at the moment, but we had this really cool dude who made a lot of music for the game.
Yella Dittmar, who is he was the composer of the game, and someone who I actually got to meet in person for the first time at Gamescom last week. I'm wearing the very fun Gamescom shirt with a little cat, and that guy is the tallest person I've ever seen in my life.
Oh.
Yep,
Was not aware.
tall man.
Yeah, and in addition to Rytis, I think our team really appreciates working with him. He's really
He was a joy
hyped,
to work with,
excited.
yeah.
Oh my god, he's so excited all
He
the
was
time.
more hyped than us, I think.
Yeah,
It's possible. Yeah, it's possible.
I mean, he's very enthusiastic. The guy bought a banjo for this project in particular, so that's fun. Yeah, the music
Exactly,
is truly great, fully original, and you'll actually be able to stream the soundtrack when the game comes out. So that's cool. Good shout out. Good shout out. Ieva, did you think of
Okay.
something?
I think we touched on the core aspects of the game. I don't think there's anything particular that we haven't touched yet. But a fun fact, we were talking about the Hydromancer character, and before
Best
very
character in
early
the game,
concepts of her
as
were
we've all unanimously agreed upon.
mechanically she's good. Yeah. Early concepts of her were actually she was not supposed to be a hydromancer at all. She was sort of supposed to be a kid that summons spirits. Like that was my original idea of her. But then later on we added elemental parts to the game, so we changed her to a hydromancer character.
well,
That's a fun fact.
actually, like adding to that, like the Hydromancer was initially the Arcanist,
Right.
which were like had a literal with a like sort of like dark looking almost a necromancer's book. But
That was the idea.
yeah. And like a huge problem with like when we were playing the game was okay, we want all of these characters to be archetypes of like random people that can have specific abilities or whatever, and then having a bunch of small girls with necromancy books with different names just sort of fell off. Like I don't.
It was.
So like
that's the part that would have broke the immersion.
Yeah, of course.
Got it. Okay.
That's the thing I complain about, I think. But yeah.
Yeah, we did talk about it, and we then looked at other games that do it right. One of them being Darkest Dungeon, where they sort of have these well-defined characters, but they still function as archetypes of a certain thing. And we drew inspiration from that, like not going into too much like depicting the character's age or similar things. Like,
yeah, I had a. It was funny because I've been recently, showing the game and at various conventions and situations, and there are points where people are like, "Oh, so what's the story?" And I think a lot of games right now have like a lot of deep story and bog you down in character development and that kind of stuff. And this becomes more of like a, to your point, like a choose your own adventure game, almost like a D&D campaign, right? That's how I've kind of described it to people. And I was like, yeah, it's kind of, it's light on the, detail character stuff. And typically you go into that and you're like, whenever you talk about what a game doesn't have, potentially you walk into this, you're walking this fine line where it's like, oh, is this going to be, are they going to see that as a bad thing? And everybody who I've said that to, like, oh, this is great. So I could just play the game. Like, yeah, you just go and you play the game. Like, oh, that's awesome. So it's really been fun to see the feedback. I think this might be the end of my run here. It's gonna be
Nah,
I mean, it's close. You can do it.
you got this. Believe.
these amalgamation. These guys, like the amalgam, they are okay. One, oh no, we're all still alive. Everybody's still alive. This is what I'm concerned about. Oh, okay, here we go. Wait, how much damage going to do? 34. Here's the other thing to note, just in the general tips and tricks. I do like, and I don't think I've seen this in other games like this, where you have your 2 action points and you could use them any way you like. I think a lot of people are used to being like, oh, once I attack, it's over. But the fact that you can attack and then run away is actually one of the more interesting strategic elements of the game that is subtle, but also critical to survive a lot of attacks, especially against the big, slow-moving guys.
It wasn't always like that. We had a lot of back and forth on that one.
Well, there was also back and forth on another thing where, I think people will play games like XCOM and think, oh, it's kind of like that. And one of the biggest differences between this and XCOM is that you don't have it's not your team goes, my team goes, and then your team goes. It's actually completely driven by speed. So I guess as we're closing on the end here, what was the decision-making process behind that?
Honestly, we had sort of both modes implemented. We just
there was literally a toggle.
We had a
for
toggle
the longest time. Yeah.
Yeah, to get it calculated by speed and just team-based. I don't know. Like, I think the main issue was that the team-based mode was you just had a lot of waiting. And of course, games like XCOM has that as well, where you just wait until the entire enemy team just goes for their turn.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like this sort of speed-defined turns, I guess, you're just a bit more involved more constantly in a way. And also, I guess, just having speed as a stat that you can influence through like runes and levels just has another like layer of strategy, I guess.
Yeah, totally.
I think there's also was a discussion when deciding on which mode to choose. Basically, if we had a team-based or speed-based choice, which one is easier to combo your characters? And then I think the team-based one was still easier, but then we were like, if we can actually introduce runes which increase your character speed, we can still allow player to choose to maybe make one of the characters faster, so they move first and they can use their ability, and then adjust your character speed with using runes and other items.
Yeah, setting up combos when like, okay, I'll move this character and now the entire enemy will move elsewhere is really hard to do. So actually having them a bit more interspersed, maybe allowing certain characters to be closer together, just sort of helps with setting up those like AoE combos.
Yeah, very cool. I also want to call this out. So originally, we had like these larger maps And I think it was Rytis who actually was the one who first kind of broke these things apart and made smaller ones. Is that, am I remembering that correctly?
Yep.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so I think that's just kind of one of these things where it kind of drives the point home. You know, I got a lot of people on the team here. We're getting kind of to the end here. I want to kind of wrap up and saying like these kind of things are a team effort, and you're seeing 4 people from the team, I guess myself included in a way, but in the most loose way possible. But these are the guys involved on the day to day, and there's also a larger team behind them as well, and it is a group effort. So. Good ideas could come from anyone on it, especially on the team, especially from the even how design works and makes the game work like this faster paced experience. And this was one that came from Rytis.
Yeah, and actually, notes on that. This idea actually came from. We had one day a month. We call it Maklu Day in Lithuanian, where the team members can choose on something they want to work on, which is not necessarily their current ongoing task, and just try to adjust it. Then the next week or next day, we present it to the rest of the team members, and then we decide if we actually keep it in the game, or should we remove it, or should we do something else, maybe spend more time on it. So I think this was actually one of those days where Rytis was like, guys, I'm just going to try out reducing the map size. And then we decided that it actually works pretty well, and we decided to keep it in the game.
Let's call it. Let's say what really happened. He said, "Gytis, your maps are too big." I fixed it.
that was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was crushed. Didn't go to work for a week.
All right. Well, sorry to hear it. It also somehow aligned with when you got COVID. I don't know. Maybe they're different. Maybe I don't know. Anyway. All right. I think that's good. Look. I'm amazed I survived that last battle. That was I want you to rate my skill playing this game.
You should start a tips and tricks channel for this game specifically.
Yeah, that's
it would go off probably.
I mean, you didn't show off the best character in the game, so I don't know, man.
Excuse me, whose system gave me that luck with the draw that didn't even give me the chance to get the best character in the game, huh?
Is it really the best if you don't have it, though?
I don't know. One shouldn't throw stones in glass houses and such, as it were. Your house, your stones. Something. Whatever. I don't know. I've lost the plot. Anyway, I'm gonna stop here because otherwise I'm just gonna keep going forever. And the good news is that I could just quit and then I could go back to this later. So to be continued. I will stop this stream, stop the screen sharing, but that was fun. That was good stuff. Oh, look, we're all back and we're bigger. Typically I like to end this now. I know we started by recommending a random zombie thing from any medium, but how I like to end these podcasts is just talking about, just games in general and what kind of games we're playing. And it can be a game you played recently, a game you're playing now, but just one game. And Vytautas is really excited about this.
Yeah,
he doesn't have to go first. That's okay.
Are we all gonna give the same answer?
No,
this is gonna be different.
If you have the same, there is no. I will guarantee there is no chance you have the same answer as me.
I think it's a huge chance that we will give the same answer.
We might have a majority at least.
There's gonna be a majority, but not.
Well, that's fine. It's late your time, so you guys will get out of here sooner. Then that's fine. We can keep it going fast. All right, we'll go in the same order as I see it here. We'll go clockwise. So, you know what? Screw that. Let's go backwards because I'll go last. Gytis, you go first. What are you playing?
Yeah, primarily I've just been into Baldur's Gate 3. Honestly, it's the biggest game right now.
Anything to say about it besides that it's great, allegedly?
It's a buggy mess, and it's the best PC game of all time.
Wow, of all time.
According to Metacritic, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. Vytautas.
Okay, I've been playing quite a bit of that as well. That's
go ahead. Give us the real answer.
My real answer is League of Legends, baby.
Nothing wrong with League of Legends. That's fine. It's huge.
Why do you hate yourself?
Because I like salt, I guess,
I was made aware of the existence of that character with all those tails. I don't remember how many. How many tails is it? Is that League?
Probably
Right?
9.
7.
If it's the
I
Fox
believe
Lady.
it's,
Yeah. Fox Lady. Saw a lot of people dressed like that at Gamescom. So was made aware of that character, and then
Ninetales.
Ninetales, and saw
yeah.
that character all over the place at Gamescom. Lots of impressive cosplay at Gamescom.
I mean, it's one of the most popular characters in the game, I guess. So, yeah.
Yeah. Have you been playing League since the beginning?
Since like season 2 or 1, yeah.
Wow.
That's a long time.
That was a
There-
beautiful season.
There have been a bunch of,
The good old
I
days.
guess, times I didn't play, or like half a year you don't play. But it's an addiction you can't
Yeah.
get rid of ever. You can uninstall it,
so
but
much,
it's gonna come back.
so much time of your life wasted.
I love it.
Eva, what about you?
Baldur's Gate 3 has been my only hobby for the last month.
Okay.
I love it. I finished it this weekend. I'm going through depression, the kind that you go through after finishing a long game. It's lovely. I love it so much. It's great.
Are you going to play it again then?
Yes, once they fix Chapter 3.
Is there a non-spoiler reason why Chapter 3 is broken?
There are some bugs and some
Okay.
It
unfinished
just runs really poorly,
quests,
to be
I
honest.
guess. But it's still very enjoyable. I loved it insanely. And after playing Divinity 2, like Larian's earlier game, there has been this void that I couldn't fill. And when they released this one, it was like, finally, I've been waiting for so long. I love it so much.
It's very cool. Good stuff. I got to check it out eventually. Rytis.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, I'm playing Baldur's Gate. I finished it already. I'm playing it the second time at the moment.
Are you going for a Dark Urge playthrough?
Yes, I'm killing everyone.
Oh my gosh.
You don't have to kill everyone.
Why not?
That's why you
But I
can't
guess
say
playing
anything
the Dark
positive
Urge
today.
is the excuse for killing everyone.
He's in a very dark place.
Yeah.
It's a good game. The ending was a bit, I guess, disappointing, but it is what it is.
Yeah, but isn't there like 4,000 endings or something like that, according
There's
to
a lot of
Larian?
things that can happen, but there are some characters where it feels like it didn't end. Like there were still a lot of questions and
Yeah, and there's
finished
some
parts.
bugs where you don't get a cutscene at the end and stuff.
Yeah, or the character dies, but then they show up. It's
That's one of the ending permutations. Then that sounds.
yeah, but
But it's still a great game.
it's still it's lovely, and I'm really sure. Well, knowing Larian's track record and how they do these things, they will probably fix it in a few months or a year. Because Divinity 2 had a really huge structural change. I think when they released the definitive edition, they changed Act 3, I think, entirely, and it was good.
Sweet.
Yeah, there's a lot of content that's in the game files, but not in the game yet.
Right. Yeah.
So just one of those 4,000 permutations, probably.
Yeah.
You just gotta find it. You just gotta kick that squirrel even harder, and then
Oh, I did.
as hard as you could.
I rolled a nat 20 on the squirrel kick, and it was
Wow.
I
great.
never met the damn squirrel.
Oh, really? Oh, well, you will eventually if you try to kill everything in the game.
I
then
was there
surely you gotta
twice.
kill
I
the
didn't
squirrel.
need the squirrel. I don't know.
Or is it like every person? No,
It's
no
too
animal.
small and insignificant, I guess.
Oh, now you made it sad.
Oh,
Well, I'm not a big dork like you guys playing.
Just
So
tell me you're
instead-
playing League of Legends.
I've been playing the really cool game Bomb Rush Cyberpunk on my Switch.
I wanted to play that, but
And,
I've yet to go there.
This game is lovely. I've also been having what I can only describe as gaming schizophrenia since I finished the also very cool person game that is Master Detective Archives Raincode. So obviously that's the game for cool people. And now I'm playing, and now it's like I don't really know. I keep bouncing around between different things, but Bomb Rush Cyberpunk is the game that gets the call out from me because more people should play this thing if you fall into a very specific category. If you played Jet Set Radio Future, or its prequel Jet Grind Radio in the States, or Jet Set Radio as it were in Japan. Oh man, naming things has always been weird by these companies. It's like they're not going to understand. But this game is basically it's a cell shaded, cartoony looking game where you play as a bunch of you're either riding a skateboard, rollerblading, or riding a bike, and it is in this futuristic city of New Amsterdam, and you're running around, you're graffitiing things, you're grinding on stuff impossibly, like right up poles and making massive combos, and then all while grooving out to an amazing soundtrack. It's very cool. It is the sequel to Jet Set Radio Future that we never got. It doesn't play, it plays better than both of the games that came before it. Although it's been a very long time since I've played Future, because that game is basically locked to the original Xbox and it's not backwards compatible, probably because licensing that music for modern consoles is a nightmare. And without it, it's just not the same. But this game is great. It's missing DJ Professor K, I think was the name of the DJ. So I do kind of miss a little bit of that. But overall, this game is just a delight. It's and if you have any interest in the others, then you should check this out. Go ahead, Gytis.
Yeah, so you mentioned it controls better than like both Jet Set Radio games, but like, how are the controls in general, like by today's standards?
They're good.
For a game like that, yeah, they're great.
I think they're good. Yeah, I mean, I think about it when you have any kind of game where you're on wheels.
Yeah.
And there is this idea where you're going to keep moving it, and then you incorporate platforming. There's bound to be frustration, but what they've done is the ingenious option to get off of your skateboard or just walk around. So just by pressing the L on Switch, and you can basically switch immediately between your skateboard or walking, or your and each character has a different movement. Either they rollerblade or skateboard or ride a bike. I actually haven't done the bike riding thing yet, but that's how they solve that problem. And things are often designed, and this is what Jet Grind Radio by today's standards is not great. It controls so clunkily, and the action just grinds to a halt when you want to actually spray paint stuff. Future was great because you just pressed a button and it was just like basically hitting the floating orbs with your graffiti. But in both those games, you also need to collect graffiti cans. This game, you don't. Graffiti is unlimited. But the other thing that Jet Set Radio Future did was basically create these lines of grinding that you created. You just stick to these grind rails, and they nail that feeling here as well. So you always have some clear path of action. There's like a right, wrong way, so to speak. And it's just really well done. I like it. If it is definitely like a modern Dreamcast game or a modern version of that game. So don't expect it to play absolutely flawlessly. Imagine it playing like you'd imagine those games would play today. And you'll be in that headspace.
Okay.
It's really great. Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. Check it out. Or don't. If anything I said sounds like it's not your cup of tea, it's probably not. It's one of those things where it's exactly what it looks like. So that's it. Anyway, that was fun. My friends, thank you for joining. I should do this wrap up and talk about Days of Doom one last time. So Days of Doom, it's going to be available for everything. Consoles, Switch, Xbox One, Series X and S, PS4, PS5, VCS, PC, Epic, and Steam. It's playable on the Steam Deck. Though maybe not officially verified, I assure you it plays just fine on the Steam Deck. And that will be out soon. I don't think I can announce the release date, but then again, if you look hard enough, you can probably figure it out. And we'll have an official announcement coming soon. So check that out. Wishlist it, please. If you made it this far and you have any, and you want to contribute, even if you don't want to commit the dollars, the easiest thing you could do, and I will say this every time, to support us and the developers, is to just click the wishlist button on Steam, show the interest, and that will help us greatly. And then
I'm going to do that right now.
Yeah, do. Oh my God! Wow, you didn't do it yet. Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. +1. Well, thank you for joining. And I don't actually know what the next episode of this is going to be. We'll figure that out. If you are, again, I mentioned it at the beginning of the podcast, but if you are in the Seattle area this weekend, if you're listening to this now, this will come out on Friday, right? So if you're listening to this the day of, and you are in the Seattle area or Seattle adjacent, and you want to go to PAX and play some games, including Days of Doom, among other titles, please come by, say hello. I'll be there. I'll be the guy who looks like me. Until next time, thanks for listening. Bye.
Thanks for having us.
Bye.
Bye.